Today's episode is brought to you by Dr. Moreau's Island Resort. If you're, feeling a bit crowded nowadays, or feel like that, there's too much to life. Life is too hectic. Well, come check out Dr. Moreau's Island Resort. And remember, what happens here stays here. This is Dean.
And this is Brian.
And this is Geekus Speakus. How you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. It was a busy week at work, but I'm all right. How about you?
Suddenly less busy. I'm currently jobless, but that's a story for another day.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, we won't bore our listeners with our tales of woe.
Woe is me. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our first segment. It'll be trailer talk. Once again, this is not us slinging insults at each other. I swear, this is us talking about trailers that have come out recently, as well as other things that have interested us.
Trailer talk.
Yes.
Yes, trailer talk. So I'm looking at some of the ones that have come out. Yeah, no, it's not us slinging stuff at each other. I'm not wearing a wife beater. I don't have a can of Bud Light in my hand.
Yeah, me neither. No Budweiser, no Bud Light, no Coors. That
beers. All of those are all terrible, terrible beers.
Yes, they are. They're all just terrible beers.
Those are bad beers.
I feel like a bit of hipster saying this, but I'm much more into the craft beer sort of thing.
Well, I live in Portland, so craft beer is a thing here. Almost every restaurant you go to has at least some craft beer. So whenever I go home back to Fresno to visit, every time I go to like a place and they have beer, it's always disappointing, and I'm just like, I guess I'll get a Blue Moon. Awful.
What's interesting is that the whole beer scene is really popular here in Missouri as well.
Really?
Yeah, like in Springfield, the town that I used to work in, they have a self-serve tap house. So if you...
Okay.
Yeah, and there's like 2 breweries in southern Missouri that I know of, and they're within an hour drive of each other. It's not as big as it is in
Only
Portland.
2 breweries?
Yeah, I know.
There's like a dozen.
Only 2. I know it's not as big as say like the Oregon area. It's just they have more than say most Middle America.
True.
However, I don't care for either beer company personally.
That's a shame.
Their beers are not great. Not to slam them. They're just not my preference.
That's fair.
All right. So, moving to the first trailer, did you watch the Castlevania trailer that came out recently?
Yeah, I was actually about to bring that up. Yeah, it looked... I mean, there wasn't a lot to it, but I'm excited. Warren Ellis is writing it, and Warren Ellis is a damn good comic writer. If you want something dark and gritty, go with the Warren Ellis book. He did Authority and a couple other things, but he was really good.
That's good. I've actually been looking forward to this because they've been trying to set up a Castlevania series for years now, and it's never gone through till recently. So it's kind of cool that they're finally bringing in for like the first time a solid series.
Yeah, it looks like it has like a Vampire Hunter D feel to it.
Yeah. Let's see. What other trailers came out? Dark Tower.
Oh yeah, that one. We meant to talk about that one a little while ago.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, is it's a side story or a sequel to the books.
It's
So that's how they're fixing that, like the half dozen books trying to force them into one movie. It's like you should actually read the books and watch this movie.
Yeah, well, I was actually talking with a friend, and he said it's going to be a sequel to the main series. So
Yeah,
this is not the based off of the book so much as what happened after the books. So it's a bit different. And actually, it looked pretty cool. I don't follow the Dark Tower series extensively, but this movie
it.
looked like it was well done.
To be fair, the Dark Tower books are a little dense at times, and there's a lot of fluff. But I mean, they're still good from what I hear. But there's a lot of stuff in there where it's just like, all right, we don't need to meet real life Stephen King as he gets hit by a car, and all
Yeah.
right, okay,
Well, I will say that I have no excuse because I've also converted those books into comic form. And I could be reading the comics.
oh yes, yes,
And it was like, and I heard like, obviously Stephen King's a good writer, but I've also heard that the comics were well done as well. So I've really got no excuse. If I really wanted to, I could just buy the comics to start reading those, but I haven't. So just got to deal with that.
yeah. And with speaking of comics, I'm so far behind. I'm like years behind on my comics. I occasionally try to get like a wiki dive done just to kind of catch up a little bit, but I am so far behind.
I just started catching up. Like I'm reading Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns, and I want to say I'm like 2 or 3 issues behind. It's
I need to read all the stuff, the lead up, and the current Secret Empire, Secret War stuff with Nazi Cap.
okay. For that one, I might suggest obviously reading Captain America, just kind of a given, and
Yeah.
you got to read some of the smaller stories that led up to it, like the Pleasant Hill arc,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. I need to go back to that.
also Civil War Two, uh, which was not very well received, but Civil War Two
Yeah.
helped lead up to Secret Empire.
Right.
Well, they're trying very hard to make Miss Marvel like a front-running character, kind of like Captain
Well,
America. Not Miss
Kamala Khan,
Marvel,
Miss Marvel,
not Miss
or
Marvel.
Captain
Captain
Marvel, Miss
Marvel.
Marvel.
Sorry, it's Captain
Well,
Marvel because she used to
Carol.
be Miss Marvel.
Yeah. Well, they've been trying to get Carol Danvers to be in the forefront for a while now. It just hasn't taken.
She's not.
But
She's not a likable
she's,
character, if I'm gonna be
she's
honest.
not. And I know this is two dudes talking, but she's kind of a bitch.
Yeah, and like I have no problem with female character leads. Like I'm reading the current Miss Marvel. It's actually well done. With I'm gonna screw up her name.
And it's
Kamala
I think
Khan.
it's yeah, Kamala Khan. I think it's because Carol is military, and it's just she has that heart. She's a major in the military.
Yeah.
Let's see what other movies, trailers. Because we're in comics, movies. There's not a lot of trailers out right now that I can think of. Oh, there's some game stuff. Far Cry 5. That looks interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be the first of the Far Cry series to take place in America, at least for the majority of it, which is really interesting because they've gone to like Tibetan-like countries, prehistoric.
Hmm.
They for the first
Oh,
like 3 games, Tropic Paradise. Well,
and you live
Paradise.
in the Midwest, and we
Yeah,
both grew up in Fresno. Fucking religious fanatics are crazy.
yeah. That's about right. Really, religion is really big in the Midwest because I live in it's also the Bible Belt. And so you get some crazy religious people. In this case, though, that game takes place in like Montana, which is in the
Hmm.
Northwest, and that looks interesting. I'm actually looking forward to that game
Oh yeah, no, does look interesting.
because I'm a
Um.
fan of the Far Cry series since Far Cry 3. It's
Oh yeah, no, those games are fun. The fact that you can get a credits by just waiting. That's amazing.
oh yeah,
Where the guy tells you, "Hey, just sit here and wait," and you start the game and you escape, and the game starts, or you can just sit there and wait for half an hour.
and then that's it. That's the game. You win. That's done.
Yeah.
And that is such a weird concept for games, especially nowadays, because
Oh,
it's always
I love alternate win situation games.
oh yeah.
One of the ones that comes to mind always is Golden Sun.
Yes, Golden Sun, and I hate to use this because the game itself wasn't great, but it had something like 32 alternative endings or 64, something like that. It was a Shadow the Hedgehog game.
Oh yeah, that
The
game was
GameCube.
terrible.
Yeah, but it had a lot of alternate endings depending on what you did in the game. It was
Yeah,
like crazy amount of options, and
yeah. I just love the. Oh, I don't want to go on the adventure. Okay, here's the credits. You win.
yeah, and the game is also the game itself is pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. You got these Shambhala missions, which helped inspire the next game, Far Cry Primal. But you can kick a lot of like ass just shooting arrows and controlling a tiger. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it does.
I think that's pretty much it for trailers right now. But
Next time maybe a little bit more because E3 and stuff's gonna be happening soon, so
oh
we'll have
yeah,
our opinion on those.
I am really looking forward to E3. That's when the coverage starts coming out. I think that's when we're gonna have a lot to talk about then.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and head into regular geek news. Uh, Starting off, I would like to go with the one I think we were both a bit excited about, even if I don't think I'll ever be able to go there. They're making a Studio Ghibli theme park in Japan. Set to
Oh
release in
yeah, that
2020.
looks really cute, and I love that it's not like a bunch of rides that are themed after Ghibli stuff. And it's just an exploration kind of thing. You go through
Yeah,
the house, you can look at all the stuff, pick all the stuff up, just kind of look around, and I love that when places do that. I don't always want to go on a ride and ride roller coasters all day. Like yeah,
yeah. I'm in the same boat. I mean, this feels really not. This it's gonna be an experience rather than like a ride park, an amusement park, if you will.
yeah.
And a part of me as a Studio Ghibli fan, I hate to say this, but one of the things I'm excited about is the if they have food stands, because
Oh yeah, the
yeah,
food is always so wonderfully like done in the Ghibli movies.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge on baking kind of person, but in Howl's Moving Castle, they made it look really good.
Oh, that breakfast in Howl's is
Hmm.
looks amazing.
Yeah, it looked
We
fantastic.
some buddies of mine have recreated that that meal before.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Uh, See, next up would be I just want to talk about this because it is 100 years after it was meant to be published. J.R.R. Tolkien released a romance novel, and it's been just released the other day. It's between Baron and Luthien, though I'm probably going to say the names wrong, and
Uh
it the concept is
crap.
interesting.
Okay.
I was just saying that the it sounds somewhat interesting. It is a romance novel sort of thing, so that part doesn't really interest me per se. So much that it's been 100 years since it was first written. So the concept of like the uh, time capsule book really interests me in the same
Well, yeah,
aspect.
and I'm looking at
Go ahead.
some of the stuff on here. Keep going. You finish your thought.
Oh no, just saying like there was this as an example, or there was and I'm forgetting his name now, but he was a great American author. He did like Tom Sawyer. Uh,
Oh, oh, what? Mark Twain,
Mark Twain,
Samuel
thank you.
Clemens.
Yeah, he was an eccentric person to the point where he made an autobiography and then told them to not release it until like 100 years after his death. Which,
Yeah, no, I love eccentricities.
yeah, and I was this type of thing really interests me whenever it's like a time capsule sort of situation because it kind of a what was it like written then sort of situation.
Oh yeah, it's saying here that he wrote it right after he returned to the Battle of the Somme in 1916.
Yeah,
Which, speaking of World War One, we can come back onto that a little later. We both saw a fairly good movie this weekend.
yep,
The other big thing about this is Luthien and Baron are under him and his wife's names on their gravestone.
yeah. I'm not really a romantic person, but that was a pretty romantic thing to do, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's actually really sweet.
Let's go ahead and move on from there. Uh,
Let's see. What's the next one? Rick Moranis is apparently coming back to acting to reprise his those Canadian guys he plays.
Yeah, the McKinsey brothers. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to this because he quit acting. I can't tell you the exact one, like
Oh,
93, 94, because his wife
yeah,
died.
his wife died, so he quit acting to raise his kids,
Yeah,
and that's actually pretty great.
that was a really admirable thing to do. Like, I'm not. I mean, I like the McKinsey brothers, but I was never like a Rick Moranis fan. But I gave him many props. Let's just say I just gave him a lot of props for taking the time to help his
Oh
family,
yeah,
as opposed to trying to juggle both because it's not easy to do both. There are parents out there who don't make a lot of money and they have a harder time raising their family and making money. And acting can be like a 16-hour day situation. So
yeah, exactly, and he
he's
needed to be there for his kids.
yeah. So that was really cool. Moving on to once again another old actor, uh, Terry Gilliam, former Monty Python and cartoonist for Monty Python.
The, who is the guy who did the animation
Yep,
and the only American?
the only American Monty Python. He just got done recording a movie that took 17 years to make, based off of Don Quixote, and that's
The
insane to
fact
me.
that it took, yeah. Well, what movie is it? Something in the Thief. The Thief and the Cobbler.
Yeah,
That took like 20 years to make,
yeah. He's been
and
good.
didn't do very well because it came out like right after Aladdin came out, and they were essentially the same story. And yeah,
Yeah.
31 years
Oh,
of production.
oh boy, man.
Yeah, started production in 1964.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's long. That's long.
Sometimes these long production things don't lead to good. Just look at Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I remember getting that game in the preview, and it was so mediocre under the preview.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and we're on the same news to movies on excuse me, on the same news as movies. They have confirmed a new director for the Godzilla vs King Kong movie. The
I
the new
still
one.
need to see the I still need to see the new King Kong, but Godzilla looked really cool.
Yeah.
Like no, sorry, I loved the 2014 Godzilla, and I know there's people who don't like it, but have you seen the 1950 Godzilla? There's not a lot of action in it.
Oh no.
All right,
No. My
you barely see the monster.
that was kind of the point in the original Godzilla. The Gojira era. Originally, you weren't supposed to see a lot of them. It's just he got popular over the years, and then kaiju
Yeah.
became popular.
And
No,
I hear people complaining of like this new the 2014 Godzilla, like, oh, the people are dumb, or there was enough monster battles. It's like, first of all, have you seen the original Godzilla stuff? He barely shows up. It's not all that there. The monster battles were awesome, and none of the people in the Godzilla movies have ever been competent,
yeah.
except for the weird Japanese doctor guy.
I would say my biggest problem with that is Godzilla had like a weird level of understanding with the main character. And I mean to the point where Godzilla dove under his boat to not knock over his boat, but didn't give a flying fuck about the boats behind the boat he was on in that scene.
Plot convenience.
Yeah, it was always plot convenience. A lot of situations where he should have died or been inconvenienced, and he was fine. Like he fell off of a train bridge. He should have died.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was it.
See,
I had a problem with that movie just because it's like Godzilla and the main character were like the best of buds apparently. Because Godzilla,
I didn't get that at all.
it's because
I
Godzilla
didn't
would
get.
always watch out for him. Like, oh look, what's his face is about to die, and then Godzilla comes in the last second. I know
I
it's
just
because
feel that it's not the guy watching out for Godzilla. It feels more of a he just happens to be plot convenience. He happens to be in the right place at the right time. I didn't feel that there was like this thing of him watching out for him at all.
It's just
The dude he happened to be lucky.
yeah. But there was and they also killed probably one of my favorite just actors in general, Bryan Cranston. They killed him in the first like
Oh
5
yeah,
minutes. Uh, which bothered me to no end because they brought in like a really good actor and they didn't utilize him really.
Well, it's a Godzilla movie. You have to kill the good actors so that the monster's not overshadowed. I'm not watching Godzilla for Bryan Cranston. I'm watching Godzilla for Godzilla.
True enough. I did like the point where he just kind of opened up the creature's head and just did his atomic fire down his throat. I mean,
oh yeah, no that
very Godzilla.
That was actually one of my favorite movies of 2014. To be honest, is that Godzilla.
Let's see. What else is in the news? This one is for Square Enix news. Okay, so
Kingdom Hearts 3 is never coming out.
No, it's not. This is the remake of Final Fantasy VII. They're just not. They're never going to put it out. They pushed it. The news is that Square Enix has they brought it in house as opposed to giving it to a third party developer, which they've been doing a lot lately. But they pushed back the release date again.
Well, with Final Fantasy 7 is overrated. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat.
No,
it is fucking overrated.
We're in agreement there.
You know what they need? You know what I want them to remake HD or do an HD version, like an HD 3D version?
What's that?
6. Final Fantasy 6. I want to see a full orchestrated version of that opera. The destruction of the world by the clown, and all that stuff. 6 would be a great one for them to like redo.
I agree. It would be a really good remake for them to work on, because they had a pretty good storyline. And like you said, you got Kefka. That was the clown, by the way.
Yeah, I can remember.
Kefka, probably like one of the funnest and hardest villains to face in the series.
Yeah, and 6 is one of the best Final Fantasies, so if not the best.
I never got the whole 7 storyline anyway, because a lot of it revolves around the whole shit with Sephiroth. And it's like, oh, he found out who he is, so he went crazy. It's like, that's dumb.
Is he a clone or not? Or what?
Yeah.
Who? And yeah, no, Kingdom Hearts 3 can't come out. You gotta still do Kingdom Hearts HD Remix 3.7. No, sorry, 2.99 HD Remix 3.
Dream Drops the pushback.
Yes. Oh, and then you gotta re-release all those again.
Yeah. All they're gonna get Kingdom Hearts 2.99996 Dream Drop Pushback Remix.
Yeah, you gotta do all that before you can release 3. But then you gotta throw some more stuff in there. 3 will never come out.
No, they're just gonna keep pushing that back. I don't get it. I did think it was interesting though. I was thinking about this because they work with Disney for their like worlds and characters and whatnot. But Disney now owns Star Wars and Marvel, and I object to the idea of them to bring that in. Actually,
I don't think they'll put them in because it's a weird licensing thing with they have the licensing, but it's a weird thing of owning it. Yeah. Like it's not like a direct ownership; it's just a license ownership of it that they have to maintain certain things.
Well,
so it is highly unlikely for Marvel or Star Wars to be in the Kingdom Hearts games.
Well, I will say this actually: Square Enix bought the video game rights to Marvel recently.
Oh,
yeah.
So might be in. All right. Yeah. Now if they both have the rights.
Yeah. And Marvel has a tendency to regret that later, what with X-Men and Spider-Man taking them years to get the rights back.
Yeah.
Speaking of delays, Red Dead Redemption 2 has been delayed to 2018.
That's fine.
Did you play the first Red Dead Redemption?
Oh yeah, no, I loved it. Honestly, the first thing I do in those games is I get onto a horse, I get up to full speed, and then I shoot the horse in the back of the head.
Nice.
It's like the first thing I did when I played the game, just to see if I could.
I was a
And
big fan.
you can kill your horse if you miss aim.
Yeah. Part of one of my favorite things to do in that game was to be an old timey, how to put it, an old timey cowboy villain. I would get on the horse, get my lasso people, and then just like ride across the desert.
Okay, yeah, that was a good game. But you know what? I know some things take forever, but I'd rather have games take a little bit longer and get all the kinks out. You can't take too long, just take a little longer to fix things. That was the problem with Mass Effect Andromeda,
Oh
is
yeah.
that they should have taken a little bit longer, gotten some of those kinks out, and released it. But now they fucked themselves.
Speaking of Mass Effect, not happy about this one. The news on Mass Effect is that they are putting it on. I guess this way to put it is they're putting it on the back burner for now.
It's on permanent hiatus,
Yeah,
which is a fate worse than death.
it's referred to in the industry
Um,
as development hell, which
yeah,
is
because
great.
death, when if a company kills a thing, that means somebody else might be able to come by and take it and work on it. Permanent hiatus, no one can work on it.
Yeah, it's basically them sitting on their own property and then choosing not to do anything with it, which is not good because I'm a big fan of that
Yeah, no.
series.
Oh,
Was
hopefully, yeah, something happens of it.
Yeah, and we're going back to movies here. See, Justice League has a new director, as Zack Snyder had to step down due to family issues. So Joss Whedon is taking over.
I do want to say I have, despite my feelings on some of his movies, I have the deepest condolences for him and his family after his daughter's suicide.
Yeah,
That's what happened. His daughter committed suicide. You have my deepest condolences. From personal experience, I know how much that fucking sucks,
yeah, same here.
and I I have the deepest condolences. And any disagreements I may have with you, Mr. Snyder, you just take care of yourself and your family.
Yeah, you got to handle family first. So I get why he's stepping down. I get that.
Yeah.
But they are bringing in Joss Whedon, who's also directing the Batgirl movie. I support this because honestly, Joss is a good director because he does all the comic book work as a fan. Whenever he enters something, he's usually a fan of the series already, so it comes from a point of a fan
Yeah.
rather than a guy's been hired because he can make money off of it. You know, Michael Bay.
I I feel there's some similarity. I'm not there. I feel there's some similarities between Joss Whedon and comic book movies and J.J. Abrams and sci-fi movies. Well, I don't really count Star Wars as sci-fi, but you know what I mean. Most people
Yeah.
do. There's that whole Star Trek versus Star Wars, but both were being directed by J.J. Abrams, and then you have Marvel and DC, and both being directed by Joss Whedon, who he's either really good or kind of bad. Like he has no middle ground.
Yeah, I would say like his strongest is whenever he makes movies, but his weakest whenever he does series. And I say this because I would watch ever seen
Yeah.
Dollhouse before?
Yeah. I've seen some of it.
It starts off slow. He has a tendency to start a series off slow, which I mean I kind of get. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, as someone who's really into like fiction, but for TV you can't really do that because it makes studio execs super nervous because it won't, it doesn't capture them in the first
And guys,
episode.
can we? Yeah, I think he would probably do good for like a Netflix series. But can I talk about something real quick here,
Go for it.
guys? Firefly is overrated. Fight me. Um, it's one of those things of
Oh.
I loved Firefly. I loved Firefly, but it isn't as great as you think it is. All right. What after multiple watch throughs, I got tired of it. I'm like, I'm done with this. I mean, there's only 13 episodes, and it's worth a watch, but it's not repeated. And if it hadn't been fucked by the network, I would have given it maybe 3 seasons tops.
Yeah.
Like, it's not this perfect sci-fi that you guys all think it is. It has its issues, and it's extremely overrated. which doesn't mean bad. I hate when people think it's overrated. It's still a good series. It's just not as great as everyone claims it to be.
Basically, what you're saying, well, from what I feel like you're saying is they're remembering it being better than it actually is.
Yes.
Kind of like the situation where someone has a kid has a ball and the other kid wants that ball because he doesn't have it, sort of situation. The series ended quickly because it got canceled, so they're remembering it more fondly than it was actually worth. Because
yeah, no, that's very much it.
Yeah, I agree with you that it probably wouldn't have lasted more than maybe like 3 to 4 seasons, honestly, before people would have gotten bored of it.
Yeah, it was, and like through multiple watch throughs, it's just like, it's starting to wear down on me, and it's like it's not as great as people like to say it is. It's still decent and worth a watch, just not how people claim it's like this greatest thing ever. It's like it's not.
Yeah. Well,
so go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just about to bring up. Well, do you have another news thing you want to talk about?
Well, there are just 2 more things I want to talk about real quick. Elon Musk plans to give the world internet.
All right.
His plan is literally to, if I'm reading this right, he plans to put out a satellite that will give everyone free internet, which is, swear to God to you, that is the plot to the first Kingsman. In the first Kingsman, there's a guy. Yeah, there's a guy who gives away like free internet device or ability to connect to free internet.
Elon Musk. So Elon Musk reminds me of like a comic book supervillain for some reason. Now, I've had this discussion with some friends of mine, and we come to this like thing of like Elon Musk reminds us of not Lex Luthor, but of Maxwell Lord. Yeah. He seems like a good dude, but there's just something off about him that I don't trust. Like, nobody is this, good. And there's just something about his face that I want to punch him. I don't want to beat the crap out of him. I just want to punch him once in the face and be done.
See, on that note,
just to have this urge to just punch him.
I'm kind of the same book, but I don't like. I know what you mean by Maxwell Lord, but I feel like he's more how to put it, current Victor Von Doom. Or it's like he's doing good, yes, but he's done evil, and I expect him to do more evil. Because Victor Von Doom right now is an Iron Man, and I'm like, I'm just expecting you to do something bad. I don't know why. Just behind the scenes.
There's something about you I don't trust.
No one is that nice.
But yeah, we both saw Wonder Woman this weekend, so it's kind of transitioned into that. What did you think about it?
I liked it, actually. If I'm being perfectly honest, I was never huge into Wonder Woman. I know the generals of her back, her origin story and everything. I just wasn't really my cup of tea, which is, it's not you don't have to like every character just because you're a comic book fan. But the movie was done well. It was. Actually, a friend of mine recorded our reaction to the movie that I can probably, once we get it uploaded, I'll give you the link so you can get a better feel of how I feel about it right afterwards. But I loved it. It was a DC movie that we needed. Yeah.
It was actually a good DC movie. It reminded me a lot of the first Captain America movie.
Yeah. That's right.
Of the Marvels, the MCU, not the weird 90s ones, which get really weird.
Yeah.
But it was good. I love that it was World War I. Don't need enough World War II. Yeah. I love that none of the male characters were overshadowed by Wonder Woman. They were still competent and great. Wonder Woman
I also like
was badass.
Oh, yeah. And they finally outplayed, because in a lot of series, they don't show how badass she is. She's an Amazon warrior who is a goddess, literal goddess. And they finally showed her strength, her ability to, wreck shit. I
love that she wasn't portrayed as dumb at all. She was a little naive, and a little innocent at times, but you could tell that she was still smart. She was really smart. She was just fish out of the water and naivety.
Yeah.
Naivety?
Naivete?
Yeah, whatever the word is.
Whatever.
And and she was still super competent and super smart. This isn't her world and she's new to it. I loved it. Was World War One. One of the villains had how prosthetics would actually look like in World War One.
Yeah. Not to give too much
the
away.
face plating stuff.
Yeah, not to give too much away, but it's basically just porcelain on her face. And it was like, yeah.
It's like
go ahead.
the dude from one of my favorite characters from Boardwalk Empire has face stuff like that. Which Steve Buscemi, it's a great series. But one of those, there's a guy who was a World War One vet, and he has like half his face like blown off, and he has prosthetics like that.
Yeah, I liked it because they didn't overshadow the male characters, but the male characters also didn't overshadow the lead. In this case, Diana.
Yeah.
And,
I love that there was a female villain.
Oh yeah.
There was multiple villains, but I love that one of the villains was female. That was great. This gets a little spoilery here, but here's one of my favorite parts. So it shows Ares, the villain. So the next little bit's spoilery.
Spoiler alert.
Tune out for like the next 2 minutes. Next 2 minutes. So Ares, the villain, it's showing the scene with him after he just got beat by Zeus, right? And it's like a flashback scene. He's on the ground laying down, like after he just got beat. I love the fact that he still has the mustache. So like thousands of years ago, he still had that British mustache, and I'm just imagining him being like up with the gods, and they're like, "Hey Ares, what's with that crazy mustache?" He's like, "Just you wait, just you wait. In a couple thousand years, this will be all the style."
Yeah, I just like the idea is like right after he like got wounded and everything, he's like, "I may have lost, but there's one thing I'll never lose: this mustache."
I'm gonna keep this mustache forever. It's like it's like 20,000 years ago that he still has like this like World War One era like British mustache going on. All right, spoiler is done.
All right. Yeah,
but yeah, no, it was really good.
And I want to say, as I said, I've openly admitted that I've always been more of a Marvel fan than I am a DC, though I still like DC.
Same. Same.
I think that if they build off the popularity of Wonder Woman, they could save the DC movie franchise.
Oh, speaking of this, I'm so glad Wonder Woman ended up being good, because do you know how, like, if that movie was bad, do you know how many years women superheroes would be pushed back?
Yeah. I want to say one thing that did kind of annoy me though. I mean, they weren't the best movies, but whenever the movie came out, it said it was the first movie with the main female lead in the last 10 years. I was like, that's not technically accurate. They just weren't good movies.
Yeah.
Because there was Elektra and Catwoman.
Those movies are bad.
Yeah, they're bad. I mean, people give crap to Daredevil. Elektra is worse than Daredevil. I will say that.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, look, no, it was just the first good movie with a female lead in it. This not the first one. But I liked it. And what I also liked about it is that I live in a small town, something like 4,700 people, with a movie theater in it. And when I went to the showing of it, it was mostly women. And
that's great.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are like, what's the big deal? Or maybe, I was like, you don't understand. In my time going to movies, the only time I ever saw women there was either hardcore, movie or comic book fans, or women who just went because their boyfriends wanted to go. This is the first time that this place was packed just because women wanted to go see it. And
and I have no real complaints about the movie whatsoever.
Yeah, same here. I mean, it took
like
place
maybe on repeated views, I might have some nitpicks, but like first view, no real complaints.
Yeah, it was a solid movie. I mean, if I had to rate it, let's just say like a 1 through 5 scale, I would say like a 4.5. it was not a 5,
Uh,
but it was still a damn good movie.
I feel, you know what? That might be a complaint. There's scenes in there that force you to remember Batman v Soups, and it's like, oh yeah, here's the thing. Oh, okay, Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
That's nice. We get to okay.
It,
Yeah, it was really good.
yeah. Do you have a
But
Do you have a rant?
yes, I do. All right. So this came as a thing for me the other day of something I just can't stand. And that's when people who aren't part of a fandom complain about something in the fandom. Okay? I'm not saying like, oh, you shouldn't be part of the fandom. No, I want people in my fandoms. I want people to know about the stuff I love. But when you but come in and learn about it. But like when you get here's a recent example. There are a ton of people complaining about Hydra Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt most of them have picked up a comic book in the past 10 years. I have doubts that any of them there's probably very few comic fans in there complaining, and there's probably even less Captain America fans complaining about it. And it's people who just watch the movies, but they're complaining and bitching about something that they're not part of.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you want to come be part of it, come join. I'm all for you joining in it, but don't bitch about shit that you don't know. Like people are like, oh, these video games will cause you to murder people. Do you even fucking play these games? Do you know the story behind this game? Do you know the story behind it? Or like, this character acts like this. It's like, have you read any of this character's stuff? I mean, have all you just seen is the movie?
Yeah.
Nah, I fucking hate that. No, and I don't want to bar anybody from entering the fandom. And it's very elusive fandom. Like, when it comes to the fandom stuff like that, at least do some research before you bitch and whine about it. Like, if all you've seen is the Marvel movies, that's great. Those are good movies. But they're different from the comics.
Yeah.
So when you see like, oh, Captain America is doing this thing in the comics, people who've just seen the movies freak out. Yeah, sure, you're a Captain America fan, but you're a fan of the movie Captain America. You're not a fan of the comic one, who is a different person. And it's like, or like another thing with that is like people who say like, oh, I love this band, but they only like know one song from the band. It's like, no, you love that song, you don't really love that band.
Yeah.
And that's a personal issue I have. It's like people throw around things like love and hate, and people are so willing to just get, what, like, you don't need to complain about this shit that you're not part of.
Yeah.
Now, if you're part of it and you're complaining about it, great. That's 90% of what nerds do. We complain about shit.
Yeah.
And it is 90% of what we do. Like 90, and then it's like, but if you're not part of that fandom, why are you bitching about it when the people who are part of the fandom are like, yeah, this is great, cool. Like, I know a lot of people, myself included, my favorite superhero is Captain America. Just to put that out there. And I know some other people who are seeing evil Captain America and are like, you know what? This is actually really cool. I'm excited for this. And it's like, it's not the best rant this week, but it's just something I want to get off my chest. It's like, and I know we all do. We all we hear something, we want to, but just take a minute, take a step back, do 5 minutes of research, and be like, oh, okay, it's not as big deal as I thought. I'll just leave it alone. So yeah, people bitching about fandoms that aren't their own fandom, go fuck yourself. Fuck you, fight me.
Very well done. Well, I mentioned this pre-show, but I'm gonna go ahead and let the audience know. I did bring up a news report that I did not tell Brian ahead of time. I want to go ahead and
ooh, how exciting!
Yeah, I wanted to read this off to him and get his reaction based off of it. I'll just start with the headline, and then we'll move on to the actual story. So the headline is, woman arrested for hitting boyfriend in face with ramen noodles.
I what?
Woman arrested for hitting boyfriend in face with ramen noodles.
This is Florida?
This is Florida.
Please tell me this is Florida.
This
Why
is
am I not
Florida.
surprised?
Escambia County, Florida. Excuse me. Deputies arrested a woman accused of hitting her boyfriend in the face with a package of ramen noodles. It happened back in 2015, according to the police report. But 29-year-old Channing Benson was arrested Wednesday, May 24th. The victim, Anthony Mobley, called the, I'm going to screw up the name, Escambia County Sheriff, deputies with deputies when his live-in girlfriend walked into his job at a local convenience store and began yelling at him to bring home food for her and her children. He told Benson that he'd be off an hour bringing him food. However, that's when he said she became more irate and demanded that he give her a phone card. He said he refused to do so and asked her to leave at the time because she was causing a scene. So yeah, I guess she picked up the ramen noodles and just threw it at his face, and now she's being charged.
That's all right.
That's some crazy shit.
Yeah, no, that's They're ramen noodles. What, they weigh like 2 ounces?
Yeah, it doesn't weigh a lot. I mean, unless you're playing.
I guess if you get hit by the corner of like the package, you could.
Yeah,
that might hurt a little bit.
Take out an eye if you throw it kind of hard and like the corner hit.
Yeah.
You die. I mean, unless you plan to kill them long term with the amount of salt that's in those things, you know. But
well, have you actually had like real ramen, like legit good ramen?
I believe so. There's this place in Springfield called Korea, but not how you think it's spelled, and they sell tonkatsu ramen.
Because like actual ramen is super salty.
Yes, it is.
Like that, the saltiness in those ramen packets is actually a little less than the actual saltiness of ramen. But real ramen also has other flavors and not just the salt pack. Like it actually has like egg and beef, and it's just full of flavor, but it's also really salty.
Yeah. Well, I did want to go ahead and just say this one last part. People are reminiscing about a PS1 title that didn't exist.
Oh, which one?
Let me go and pull it up here. 2 game developers made
a
classic.
Yeah, it's a false.
Yeah. It was it was meant to help to promote the new title. It was twined about a game of found nostalgia and unset boards where they didn't count on people believing the fake game was real. So there was literally just a fake game, and people were being nostalgic. It's called Arca Symphony, or being nostalgic about a game that never existed.
Yeah, memories are. This is why I hate the Mandela effect. People talk about it because your memory is not as good as you think it is, and it's super easy to implant false memories.
Yeah, there's this whole articles about how to implant false memories and how to make people remember something the way you want them to. Calm down, people. This thing never happened. And it's like whenever people were freaking about Shazam. Not the comic book character, but, the movie that starred Shaq.
About the... No, yeah, no, it's... They're like, oh, no, there's this movie starring Sinbad called Shazam where he's doing... No, you're thinking of the movie Kazam that starred Shaq. Also, it's Berenstain... But us being lazy Americans, we pronounce it Bernstein. That's just how we ended up doing it. But yeah, no, none of those things happen. It's just because your memory is faulty.
Yeah. Calm down, guys. It's not real. The game didn't exist. Not something.
I'm just gonna wait for somebody to actually make the game and get get it set up so that it's old school software on PS1 software and just put in a Goodwill somewhere and just to fuck with people. I would do it.
I do have a last bit of news here right before the show ends. So we talked about, I want to say in our first episode, the neural network. It made a series of Pokemon like Ranch or Agumon with a gun.
Oh yeah.
You remember that? They went ahead and went back to that neural network, but this time they had it put in the name of metal bands. So I'm gonna go ahead and read some of these out to
Yeah,
you.
I saw some of those, like
Yeah.
Squeen.
There's a Vermit, a vomiting Kermit the Frog is the right kind of stupid metal name we love. Swill, Death Crack, Stagabosh. I'm gonna say that wrong because there's an umlaut on it. Voltrum, which sounds fucking weird. Inhuman, the Thorg. Jazzy, which is like the least metal name for a band I've ever heard. Squeen, like you said, and Black Clonic
Stagabash.
Stagbash, yes. Death from the Tread, which sounds like a band more along the lines of Death Cab for Cutie or
I like Storm Garden. Sounds like a metal version of Soundgarden.
yeah.
Like it sounds like the metal version of Soundgarden. Like it's a metal band that does Soundgarden covers.
Yeah. Or Snee.
Dragon son, won't you come? Wash away the
uh, this one I actually like the name of it because it goes along.
That hurts
with,
my throat a lot.
Yeah, it
How do
does.
those people do that?
Actually, it's interesting. I have a friend who's in a fairly successful metal band. He's a lead guitarist for it, but his lead singer, they're in metalcore, and all he does is scream. I'm like, how does anybody do that? That would hurt my throat.
I just guess they get used to it.
One of the name of the bands, I actually kind of like the name one of the names that they gave is actually sounds good. Cool. Summon Damage Omen, which sounds like a Norwegian death metal band. And Verk. I don't know why. Just
Chaos
Verk.
Rock.
Black Conic Sky.
Chaos Rock.
Verb. Just Verb.
Sucks. Jazzy. I like jazzy.
Jazzy. I like the description of it as jazzy. This one might suck the most, and then the next option is sucks. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, this is a pretty good list. These could actually be some. These sound like metal bands.
Dragon Red of Blood, Death House. I like some of these names. Some of them are just fucking crazy though. Like Suffer the
Shit
Blue.
without the I.
Yeah. Shit. There's one band called Suffer the Blue, which is like the most emo sounding band name I can think of. Suffer the Blue.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for this week. Do you have anything to say, Brian?
We should have some more shit to talk about next week. Or next time, not next week. We do this bi-weekly. After E3, we'll have the E3 stuff to talk about, so that might have a longer episode next week.
Yep.
Next time, sorry.
E3's coming out. We're also going to have San Diego Comic-Con coming out soon. So we'll have a lot to talk about then. And, of course, you can find us on our social media sites like Twitter and Facebook. It's at Geekus Speakus for both.
Yes, and it's Geekus Speakus at both. I'm trying to update the Twitter a little more. It's just, it gets kind of hard. Hey, Dean, since you're not working, you should really keep our stuff updated a little bit more.
Yeah, I really should.
I mean, you're probably job hunting, but I'm at work.
Yeah.
So.
We also have a YouTube channel. That's probably where your review is going to be there, as well as feature maybe like vlogs and let's plays, depending on what we can get out there. I think that's good for this episode.
I think it's all good. I hope you guys all have a good rest of your weeks.
Yep.
And catch you later.
Have a beautiful night.
Peace out. I'm going to go get ready to hang out with some friends and go to my concert later.
Nice. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Geekus Speakus podcast. You can, of course, find us on our social media sites like Facebook. It's facebook.com/Geekus Speakus, or you can find us on our Twitter at Geekus Speakus. Of course, we appreciate any criticism or comments you would like to leave us. Go ahead and hit us up. It will be great. Of course, we appreciate if you were to go ahead and let people know about our podcast. We don't pay for any form of advertisement. We're very much independent, so of course, we appreciate any advertisement we can get from you, the listener. I would like to thank the band The Spinwires for the song Girls Like You. It is a good song. They're a good band. You should check them out on Bandcamp. And we appreciate everything you've done with us. I normally don't like to do this, but we do have a slight PSA this week. Unfortunately, the FCC is looking into putting in regulations to get rid of net neutrality here in the U.S. So what we need to do is we need to band together and stop them from doing this. So my suggestion is go to gofccyourself.com, and it'll lead you to the specific legislation that they have set up. Go ahead and go into that, voice your complaints. We have to stay united in this aspect. We cannot allow this to mull over. I know this is boring, but we have to do this. But enough for my preaching. Thank you and have a great night.